Preston Carter from the Nails Chair. Got football with him.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, sir. Oh, in spirit. Okay.
I'm already banished.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. We just talked this extra family resemblance. Yeah. Yeah.
Then arguing over who's that. Yeah, yeah.
We just rock back. So we're gonna sit here. All right, we got everybody? You're like way over there now.
Well, I didn't know if I was. I just want to appreciate you letting me stay inside.
All right, at this time,
I'm bringing something.
we have concluded our recess from the lunch hour, and we will reconvene I'll invite the chairman to reconvene the Legal Affairs Committee.
Okay, we need a motion to come out of executive session, I believe.
Correct.
A motion?
We did that.
Second.
We did that. Let's do it. Let's do it again, Mr. Blossom.
Okay. Let's do it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now, we have a motion, this time, Ms. Warner.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that, I would like to move that the Board of Supervisors of LSU hereby authorizes F. King Alexander, President of Louisiana State University, or his designee to initiate affirmative steps toward protecting the university's legal rights as discussed during executive session of the Legal Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Warner. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Chairman, that concludes the work of the Legal Affairs.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn the Legal Affairs Committee?
Yes. Is there a motion to adjourn the Legal Affairs?
So moved.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good.
Well, thank you. We will now come back to order as the full board as we convene the full Board of Supervisors meeting. Ms. Griffith, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Williams?
Here.
Ms. Werner?
Here.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Armenter?
Here.
Mr. Blossman?
Here.
Mr. Brazel?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Shadowland?
Here.
Mr. Damp? Ms. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Mallett? Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Starnes?
Here.
Mr. Woods?
Here.
Mr. Yarborough?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a
Thank you. The first on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the board meeting held on June 28, 2019. Those minutes have previously been provided to the members. Are there any questions?
Motion to approve. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, the minutes are approved.
You have the audit committee.
We did this morning.
Okay.
We did? The resolution?
The committee was this morning, maybe.
I know we didn't have the review of the committee right now.
That's right.
We'll do the committee reports as well.
We'll do that within the committee report.
Yeah.
That's where we are.
I'm about to do it.
Yeah, you're supposed to, that's right, the next item, before we come into the board meeting.
We'll come back to order for approval of the minutes.
the
Committee
committee met
reports
at
is after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the committee met at 8:30, so we'll take up the recommendations of the audit.
Right,
committee
yeah.
In just a
Okay.
second.
Don't give me any problems with my last meeting.
It's all right. Did that on purpose. Making sure you're still paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, goodness, apparently. All right, so now, we will entertain one motion to approve all committee actions that were recommended today. I do want in prudence to point out that among those committee actions were amendments to the audit charter for the university system. And the form of that audit has been of that charter change has been distributed to everyone and voted on and approved at the audit committee meeting this morning. So that committee, one moment. All right, we'll take care of a few other items, and we'll come back to committee actions. We've got a logistical issue we need to clean up. While we do that, I guess I will deliver what will be my final chairman's report for the 2018-2019 year. First, and of course, as these things go, I have a lot of people to thank, but the first I want to thank Almighty God, because there is no reason that a kid like me from New Orleans, who went to public high school with a mother that worked 3 jobs and a dad that worked 2, should end up going from there to being on the LSU Board of Supervisors and being humbled enough to be elected by my peers to serve as chair. I also want to thank the governor of the great state of Louisiana, John Bell Edwards, who appointed me to this board and gave me the opportunity to serve Louisiana in such a rewarding fashion. I want to thank those board members who voted for me to be chair, those of you who are here and those of you who are not, because certainly the faith you showed in me was encouraging as we went along and tried to have a very productive year. I want to thank the board members who came along and who were put in the unfortunate position of having to deal with me even though you didn't vote for me. You were kind of stuck, but I thought we had a productive year, and it has just been such a pleasure working with all of you. Nicole, I want to thank you. This is your first year working with the board. I'm sure you learned what all of us have learned, is that there is nothing quite like working for LSU. It presents its own unique set of challenges, and you have handled them with grace, professionalism. You have brought a level of organization and professionalism to this position that I had not seen in my tenure here, and there were some very talented people who came before you. But the way you've organized things, the way you've brought your own unique style to this position has really enhanced the board and really enhanced our efficiency. And so I really want to, on behalf of myself and all of us, I want to thank you and congratulate you on completing and surviving your first year here working with us. I also want to thank everyone else on the staff who obviously works very hard in this administration every day to make LSU the great place that it is. I don't see Jason, so I'll try to wait for him to wander back in here because I have a lot to say about Jason.
Maybe you best say that.
Yeah, right. But, and King, it is a difficult job to be a university president. It's probably even more difficult when you've got a aggressive trial lawyer chairman who wants to push the issues and feels passionately like you do about LSU. But you have, as I've told you always, and I compliment you, you have created an environment at LSU that I could have only dreamed of. I never thought we'd see an LSU like the one you created. Such an encouraging, progressive, welcoming place for folk to really come and find themselves. And that's what LSU is. It's a place where you come here to grow up. And I certainly grew up here. Many people up here grew up here. And the place you have created for these kids to grow up in is a far better place than the one you found when you came. And so I just want to continue to encourage you to stay the course in the face of adversity, continuing to make LSU the great place that it was and can continue to become. I do also want to mention, I have two things I want to mention, because I'd like to, in the chairman's report, mention a few accolades. The Louisiana 4-H shooting sports team won the national championship in June, so congratulations to them. And Jordan Williams, one of my scholarship recipients, sent me a note that I think captures what we all can be and the impact we can all have on students. Mr. Williams, my thank you was a bit late this time because I've been so busy. I competed in the national case competition with Deloitte & Touche. I received an offer from Deloitte & Touche for a summer 2020 internship. I'm on the President's Honor Roll, she put again, which is very impressive. And she made the LSU Golden Girls dance team. So here's a Board of Supervisors scholarship recipient who's on the honor roll, who's getting internships, who's making the Golden Girls, who's really showing up to be a balanced campus citizen. And that's the kind of impact that we all can have when we provide opportunities for students to come to school here. There are a few things that we did this year that I'm very proud of. And it all starts, I think, and look, and this comes from Mary and the great legacy of leadership that she brings. But we talked about how there are not enough hours in a day or on a Friday to accomplish what we do. And so we started out this year with Mary and I discussing this, trying to introduce the idea of a Thursday commitment for board members, to try to get board members on campus on a Thursday for different events, discussions, socializing opportunities, so that we could get to know one another and also have more time to accomplish the business of LSU. And I think I appreciate everyone's commitment over this year. It required an extra commitment from you, but everybody rose to the challenge and gave that extra commitment, and I think it made us better as a board. Last night, I want to thank everybody for the board dinner and all of your kind words. It was truly humbling to hear all of that from you. I'm proud of the fact that we had LSU in the Zulu Parade, as y'all know, in Mardi Gras. That was quite an accomplishment. I'm very pleased that Robert Damp's house became our sort of unofficial clubhouse. We would meet there, smoke cigars there, hang out, we bought crawfish there, and thank you and Courtney for opening up your home to us to give us a place to fellowship. I'm very pleased that our supply diversity program has finally become a policy of the university. That is something we have been working on from my first meeting. Me and Steve Perry and Scott Ballard stood on those steps and talked after my first board meeting and talked about what the future at LSU might look like, and that's when we first talked about that. And Steve Perry and Scott Ballard carried that banner, carried it a lot higher and stronger than I did in those early years where we were trying to get this program off the ground. So although I've been the most vocal lately, that wasn't the case when this started, and it was those gentlemen and everyone on this board, and Bobby and Ronnie and James and everyone who worked so hard back then and were supportive of that concept. And so I appreciate all of your support as we move the university forward in that regard. I need to say something about external relations, legal affairs, and affiliates, because those are new committees we formed, and each of you took that bull by the horns. We enjoyed great legislative success this year, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Jay Blossman went above and beyond this year in external relations. He scheduled legislative meetings around the state where we met in different cities with legislators, something that had not happened in a very long time. That had an impact. Our LSU Day at the Capitol was more powerful because of it. We weren't showing up on a one-time or here and there, but we had organized activities where we could meet our legislators, and I think we saw the dividends paid with your hard work. The same goes for legal affairs, where you organized, Robert, you organized our legal matters quite nicely. And Remy took on the almost impossible task of trying to get his arms around our affiliates, which are very crucial to what we do here at LSU. We could not do what we do without them, and yet it's such a new and emerging way for us to do business that it hasn't yet had the regulation and structure that we needed. And so I thrust Remy into that position, not quite knowing what a bear it would be for you to wrestle, but you handled it quite nicely and quite appropriately, and I just want to really thank you.
Very kind of.
You know, when Valencia, Glenn, and I came on this board, after our first meeting, we sat down and eyes real wide and like, oh my goodness, what just happened? And 600 pages flash before our eyes, and they're talking about, state appropriations and things that I knew nothing about. But when we sat down, the three of us, we saw opportunity for change and growth. And change is not bad. There was only one person I've ever known who was perfect. And other than that, all of us, every institution, every human being on this earth can always get better. And the only way you can get better is to change. And sometimes in an organization of this magnitude, change is scary. We think change means the boogeyman is coming around the corner. I hope at the end of the year we see there is no boogeyman. There is nothing bad. We just made a lot of very positive and meaningful changes. I think the board members, as I said last night, Scott Ballard insisted that when you serve as chair, you serve the members. And I tried to hear and be responsive to the membership, and the members, frankly, wanted to know more. They wanted to hear some of the things that we hadn't quite gotten to, and we worked as hard like every chairman. I built on the successes that Perry had. He built on the successes before him, and I think we are continuing to build those steps towards a brighter LSU. Bobby Aubrey told me after that meeting at Pennington, before that meeting, he looked at me and he said, "Are you ready to give that hot potato up yet?" And the answer is yes. The answer is I'm very ready to give it up, but not because it's been bad, but because it is certainly time. I belong to a national honor society that chooses its national leaders by lot. They go into a bowl and they pick out the name, and whoever is pulled, that's the national leadership. And it's supposed to be symbolic of the fact that everybody in that honor society is capable of leading. It's just a matter of whose turn it's going to be. And I kind of see this board the same way. We could pick our chair by lot. Everybody here is so talented and so intelligent and so righteous and so capable of doing this job that it is really with humility that I got to take this turn in the seat. Well, now we hand it over to not somebody we chose by lot, but somebody who we purposefully chose for this, and that's Mary Werner, who has a legacy of leadership and service in this state that is unlike many folk that I've ever met in my life. You'd never know that she comes from such a strong family with such deep ties, because she carries herself with such grace, such humility, such poise. There are folk, look, if I had your experience, I might be beating my chest everywhere I went, okay? But you just handle yourself so gracefully, and I think you're such the perfect leader for this time at LSU. And so I'm just so excited to hand the gavel over to you in a few minutes. Because I'm just so excited to hand the gavel over to you today, because you're going to do great things, and our future is very bright. I have indirectly taken advantage of the institutional wisdom you have through your family by asking you, hey, talk to your folk, and how did they handle this or that? And I just can't imagine what it's going to be like now that we've got that direct pipeline and wealth of information. So I look forward to supporting you way in the background, but I look forward to being there for you, supporting you like everybody as you work so very hard to move LSU to new heights. So I thank all of you so much for the opportunity to serve you, because that's really how I viewed it, as providing service, not just to our state, but to each of you, to make sure that your contributions to this board were heard and that your contributions to this board were meaningful. So with that, we'll take up our last item on the agenda, and then Mary, you can have this hot potato. So thank y'all all very, very much. Ready on the committees yet? we ready on the committee approval yet?
Which committee?
Or all the committee actions?
Oh,
Okay. At this time, then, we will move to another exciting part of our agenda, and that is selection for the position of chair-elect for the Board of Supervisors. At this time, I'd like to receive, are there any nominations for the position of chair-elect for the Board of Supervisors?
I'd like to nominate Robert Dam.
I'll second.
Okay. It has been moved and properly seconded by Supervisor Brown and Supervisor Mallett that Supervisor Robert Dam be nominated as the chair for the position of chair-elect. Are there any other nominations for the position of chair-elect? Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to close nominations.
A motion.
Second.
All right. Any objection? Y'all do know this means it's gonna be Robert. All right. At this time, I would like to say all in favor for voting for Robert Damp to be selected by acclamation as the chair-elect of the Louisiana University Board of Supervisors. Please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. Damp. At this time, Mr. Damp, would you please step down so you can receive the oath of office?
Amazingly enough, Mr. Chair, I note that this oath has on it the name of Robert Dam. Repeat after me. I state your name. Robert Dam. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States. That I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States. The Constitution and laws of Louisiana. The Constitution and laws of Louisiana. The bylaws of the LSU Board of Supervisors. The bylaws of the LSU Board of Supervisors. And that I will faithfully and impartially discharge. And I will faithfully and impartially discharge. And perform all duties incumbent on me. Perform all duties incumbent on me. As the chair-elect of the Board of Supervisors. As the chair-elect of the Board of Supervisors. According to the best of my ability and understanding. According to the best of my ability and understanding. So help me God. So help me God. Congratulations. With about as much excitement as I can possibly stand, I'd like to welcome Chief Judge Gene Thibodeau from the Louisiana Third Circuit Court of Appeals to please come forward as he administers the oath to Ms. Mary Leach Werner as she takes the position as chair of the Louisiana State University Board of Supervisors. In addition to Chief Judge, he is also the best-dressed judge in the state. No question, that's true. I have good too. Could you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I.
Mary Leach Warner,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States,
and laws of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of Louisiana,
the Constitution and laws of Louisiana,
the bylaws
the bylaws
of the LSU Board of Supervisors,
of the LSU Board of Supervisors,
and that I
thank Jason. I didn't get a chance to thank you. Jason Andrade, who I've talked to more than anybody in this building all year, is an invaluable part of what we do. Jason, you work tirelessly up all night, early in the morning. I just want you to know, from the bottom of my heart as past chair now, and the board, we want to thank you for everything. Mary, I'm going to collect my things and get out of your seat. I do want to literally hand you your own personal gavel as chair of the LSU. Oh, it's much softer.
Not as hot, huh?
I get a great first thing to do, but before I do that, I just want to say a few words of thanks to Mr. Williams and President Alexander and to my colleagues on the board. Thank you for the opportunity to serve this great university and our great state as your chair. Today, I have joining me my husband and children, one of whom is an LSU Tiger, and I've got a few future Tigers out there in the audience as well. And my family, some dear friends, and my parents. As you've heard, two individuals who have instilled in me the love of public service as well as the value of public education. To the citizens of this state and what it means to the state of Louisiana. Also here in the audience are 7 very special women, my sister and 6 classmates from Leesville High School and from my childhood. Each of these women were raised in homes by parents in the public education system, or she is now a teacher. They and all the friends who have been a source of support and encouragement and confidence throughout my lifetime. As I look forward in this year ahead, some priorities we're going to work on and continue to move forward. As James stated, making our case, telling the story of LSU downtown at the Capitol and across the state, to continue to fight for the financial support of the students of this university and the students of this state. We're going to continue to move the ball forward with diversity and equality. LSU is now looking more and more each day, each semester, each year we graduate record classes like the state of Louisiana. And this will continue. We're also going to continue to work with the president and chancellors across the state to ensure the health, safety, and security of our students and faculty and improve the quality of the facilities where our faculty daily deliver the mission of LSU. As I was preparing for today, I took a look back at the chair's remarks on July 12, 1996. And as I read, I could hear her speaking these words on the critical matter of the funding of higher education. 23 years later, you have heard us today, and you will continue to hear us speak about the critical matter of funding higher education in the state of Louisiana. I want to say thank you to James for his inspirational leadership over this past year. You led this board fearlessly, boldly, and fiercely to initiate invaluable progress across the student body, across campuses, and throughout the leadership that affects new progress that is long overdue. Again, my thanks to all my family and friends and colleagues for taking the time to be here and share this day with me. We have really good work ahead and an energetic and bright future for LSU because we are here to lead Louisiana forward. Thank you all. Next order of business.
Mary, could I
Oh, yes.
say something?
Mr. Anderson.
Congratulations, you will do a great job. And I'm the only one on this board that has had an opportunity to serve with both you and your mother.
That's not
And
true.
if you do,
That's not true.
uh-oh,
Let the record show.
Ronnie, James and I both did. Sorry to interrupt yours.
see, soon, our memory goes. I feel like Joe Biden, but
Point of order.
but I really, both of you did a super job, and you will do a great job as chairman. And Laura, the time that you were here, you and I and Buddy grew very close, and a lot of issues that we dealt with. And I appreciate y'all being here, and I appreciate y'all allowing your daughter to do this job for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie. All right. We have a little more business before we get back on the agenda. I'd like to propose a resolution. And this resolution reads, whereas James M. Williams assumed the chairmanship of the Louisiana State University Board of Supervisors in September 2018, making him the first African-American alumnus of LSU to serve as the chair of the LSU Board. And whereas Mr. Williams demonstrated his commitment to the recruitment of qualified students who may have been overlooked by traditional measures and those who may have higher financial barriers, but who are capable of university-level work. And whereas Mr. Williams oversaw both the enrollment and graduation of record-breaking classes in terms of number, diversity, and academic achievement during his time as chair. Whereas Mr. Williams ensured that LSU's interests were served by expanding the pool of qualified vendors and contractors, thus initiating the diversity supplier program and garnering the support of his board colleagues. And whereas Mr. Williams presided over the board during a time that saw the approval of numerous publicly and privately funded projects that helped campus communities across the state and allowed the initial developmental concepts of the big charity redevelopment with the hopes of reviving an integral part of New Orleans. And whereas Mr. Williams sought to connect LSU to communities that it had never engaged before, most notably the crew of Zulu Mardi Gras Parade, which served as a strong indicator that LSU wants to be a part of New Orleans culture. And whereas Mr. Williams oversaw the reconfiguration of the LSU Health Sciences Center Shreveport's hospital partnerships in Shreveport and Monroe with the mission of improving education for health professionals and patient care for the citizens in those areas. And whereas Mr. Williams chaired the board during the public launch of the Fierce for the Future Capital Campaign, LSU's first university-wide fundraising campaign, and having an ambitious goal of raising $1.5 billion across all campuses. And whereas Mr. Williams believed that the higher education boards should work more collaboratively and sought to build personal ties and connections to members of other boards. And whereas it will never be accurately recorded or estimated the number of hours Mr. Williams gave of his personal time and attentions for the benefit of the university on a broad range of matters. And now, therefore be it resolved, Mr. Williams' colleagues on the LSU Board of Supervisors wish to thank him for his leadership, service, time, dedication, and talents to serve Louisiana State University. Therefore, be it further resolved, LSU is grateful to Elizabeth and their children for the sacrifice of Mr. Williams' time to serve our grateful university. That is the resolution. Do I have a second?
I move to adopt the resolution.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Williams, thank you so much.
So, to my brother from another mother, I can remember the first day a couple of us sat down and talked to you about becoming chair, and his eyes got so big, thinking about what have I gotten myself into. All the members of the board have enjoyed moving from a 5-time-a-year to an 18-time-a-year meeting that are 2 days each with Friday calls and Tuesday calls and pre-board prep and post-board prep. There's never been anyone more engaged, I think, and more fiery in his passion than James. And on behalf of all of us, we thank you so much for your incredible service. We have estimated, the Louisiana Judiciary has estimated there'll be approximately 50 to 60 fewer continuances with James not being chair. But since he's always sitting at the plaintiff's table and and the judges always hold the gavel, on behalf of your board members, we know giving up a gavel is tough. Yes. But brother, here's your gavel to have in perpetuity. On behalf of all of us, to recognize your time as chair.
Man, thank you.
Are we ready to? All right. Now I will entertain one motion to approve all committee actions that were recommended today.
So moved.
Is there any opposition? Without objection, the motion is adopted. We will now move to personnel actions requiring board approval. At this time, I would like to move to executive session and discuss a personnel matter. Is there a motion? Second? Any objection? Without objection, we'll move into executive session. Yeah. Advisors reports. And we will start with Ms. Ashley Gotro of the Staff Advisors.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to introduce myself. I am Ashley Gotro. I'm the Human Resources Director for the LSU Ag Center, and I am the newly appointed chairperson for the Staff Advisory Committee. Thank you for being able to speak before you this afternoon. I just wanted to update you quickly on some of the staff development activities that have been going on around the system. The A&M campus is excited to report that the protocol that they've been discussing with you for the last few months related to the death of employee has been officially become policy statement number 63. They were excited about that, and they were also happy to report that the foundation has dedicated funds to the professional development of LSU staff and faculty, and that fund is now approximately $7,000 and continues to grow. LSUA also had a transition of leadership to their staff council, and they were thankful to their staff for support of an expanded welcome back program for their students for the fall, where they expanded to what they called weeks of welcome instead of just a singular week. Pennington also reported that they have formulated their new staff association met in July and established their mission to cultivate the personal and professional growth of their staff, and they are excited to be planning their second annual employee picnic. And LSU New Orleans continues to implement their performance management program for their non-classified staff members. As for the Ag Center, I'm excited to be here taking on this role. We continue to coordinate wellness initiatives for our staff and employees and faculty, and we are preparing for some big events on campus as well, including the FFA Bash on the Bayou and 4-H Day with the Tigers. That's all I have to report today, other than to say I'm glad to be here and be a part of this organization, and we would welcome any feedback from you guys that you would like to provide as we continue our work. Any questions?
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here today. Dr. John Bancheri, representing the Faculty Advisors, is invited to come forward and give remarks.
Thank you, Mrs. Werner. Congratulations on your chair position.
Thank you,
and
Dr.
Mr.
Bancheri.
Damp and your election.
A lot of Lake Charles flavor here.
Mr. Williams, and congratulations on the hot potato moving. I want to first echo from my own campus the excitement that Dr. Ghali and Mr. Daigle presented earlier about the transformation of our hospital and the Margaret Place properties and the work that's going on there. I think the positive benefits are we're seeing the fruits of that, and we're expecting great benefit over the coming years. So that is a great work in progress. Of note, particularly for the faculty of our campus, the medical school faculty received a notice of salary adjustment last October, and that was to be effective November 1st of this year, and we still have not received any formula from the compensation committee about what our salaries will be come November 1st. So that's a continuing weight on our faculty, because we have mortgages and all those things too. With respect to campuses throughout the LSU system, we participate in the Association of Louisiana Faculty Senates, which crosses across all the systems within Louisiana higher education, and that group will meet on September 28th in Alexandria for its quarterly meeting. LSU's very own Sasha Tackaberry will be the keynote speaker to talk about online learning and the missions and development of online learning across our campuses. The faculty have concerns about some of the limitations of the hardware available on our mainframe, and the backup plan to go back to correspondence education seems to be not consistent with our 21st century values and technologies. So we hope that that dialogue will continue, and that faculty want to echo the importance of academic rigor in those online courses. Ongoing facilities issues you're well aware of, but a particular note is the issue of, in the veterinary school, of surgeons operating with water on the floor of the operating rooms is particularly problematic. Across campuses, and I've spoken with Provost Haney about one of the things we'd like to ask the board is to potentially convene a subcommittee of your academic and research committee to look at faculty affairs, particularly faculty benefits and the role of faculty senates, because this cuts across all of our campuses, and all of the campuses do these things and have these have issues that are not uniformly handled. And we'd like to see that brought to the board in a way that we can best compare our faculty development and faculty benefits to our peer institutions, but first have to have consistency across the LSU system. So with that, again, I add my congratulations and would happily address any questions you have.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you.
Vantieri. We appreciate you being here. All right. At this time, we will have the president's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to start off by thanking our chancellors, for the first time in history, LSU's enrollment exceeds 50,000 students, and that's up from about 42,000 6 years ago. And then particularly noteworthy is LSU S, which is up 1,400 students, and first time they've broken 8,000 students. The main campus is up about 700 students, buttressed by a very vibrant, best entering freshman class that the main campus has had, highest achieving, most diverse class, and LSUA is up 4.5% on their enrollment. So congratulations to our chancellors, and we've broken the 50,000 student mark, which is a great achievement for LSU in the history of LSU. I'd also like to just remind everybody as we move forward and build momentum through our Fears for the Future campaign that we're going to be going to a number of our campuses this fall, as well as the spring to kick off their version and their part of the campaign. The campaign is right at about $800 million now, well above the mid-level mark that we surpassed this summer. And the momentum is still very, very strong, and we're going to continue pushing forward and doing it with our various campuses, our medical schools, and throughout the state to push forward this capital campaign. On the main campus, I'd just like to announce that we have heard our grad students, and we've heard them, and we're working with them over the next 2 years to work on waiving the student excellence fee for our graduate students. They've been disproportionately impacted just because of the tuition fee issue in Louisiana is different than it is anywhere else in the United States. So beginning next spring, we plan to waive an additional portion of this fee and work towards fully waiving that fee for graduate students by the year 2021. And we appreciate their input and their collaboration throughout this process. And finally, I think it's important to highlight the fact that as the flagship institution in our medical schools in Pennington, the research that we do is vitally important. It's vitally important whether it's health-related, economically related, but it's also vitally important for the reputation of our university. And I'm pleased to say that I had an opportunity to go up with Dean Cynthia Peterson and Sam Bentley, our economic development and research vice president, and we went up to Oak Ridge Laboratories. And the best physicists in the world are working at the Oak Ridge Laboratories, and they knew exactly what was going on at LIGO. They've been following every discovery that we've made at LIGO, and they knew to a T what was going on at LIGO and the research, the quality of the research that's going on at our institution. And coincidentally, when I returned from Oak Ridge, I'll pass this out to each of you, The Economist rarely writes an article that lasts 3 pages. But The Economist has featured what is going on in Livingston Parish, what LSU is doing at LIGO, and I'll pass this around, but this shows you the significance, the international significance of what's going on with LSU research. And it's a real tribute to the work that our faculty and staff are doing. And that is an outstanding, outstanding job that they're doing over at LIGO. 17 new discoveries have been discovered since the gravitational wave. 17 new discoveries, and people are noticing all over the world. And the best scientists are watching carefully and closely. I'll pass that around. And finally, I'd just like to commend our faculty and staff. If you have the charts that are up, are we putting those charts up on the salary charts? We have them to pass out. What's that? They have them to pass out. I'm very pleased to show that outcomes matter, and I've sent this around and we'd put this in the paper. But it's very pleasing to know that the starting salaries of LSU graduates rank 21st out of 50 flagship universities. And at mid-career earnings are actually ranked 16th, which means our faculty and staff are turning out great graduates. And that's an indication of what the business community and the external community sees how they see our graduates. When we're third or fourth in the SEC in these areas each and every year, but we're also among the best flagships in the United States, in mid-career earnings, we actually pass Iowa, Ohio State, and Chapel Hill. That's really a great credit to what's going on at this campus and the type of graduates that we're putting into the marketplace. So we're going to keep singing these praises about outcomes, because outcomes matter. Lack of debt matters. Starting salaries matter. Mid-career earnings matter. And if you don't believe us, don't believe that matters, just ask the parents that come here at orientation. Because those are the facts and the statistics that they've been looking for and that they yearn to get a hold of. And we're competing with the best institutions in the country. And I just appreciate the work that all of our faculty and staff keep doing despite not having the type of fiscal resources that other universities have around the United States. So, Madam Chair, that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next, we have 3 reports that require board approval to accept. You were previously provided the reports for your review and consideration. Are there any questions? Is there a second?
Second.
Any objection? Without objection, the reports are accepted. Also distributed in advance was a revision to the 2019-2020 meeting calendar. The proposal moves the date of the April meeting up 1 day to coincide with LSU Day at the state capitol. Any questions on the change? Is there a motion to accept the new calendar?
So moved.
Second? Any opposed? Without objection, the motion is accepted. Our next meeting is October 25th, 2019, here in Baton Rouge. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Please.
Second? Without objection, so ordered.